Hello everybody, Mannix here. Got another knife review for you right here, right now. Feel free to subscribe, hit that little bell notification if you do not want to miss weekly knife, lighter, flashlight, and gun videos. Support me on Patreon, link in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Let's get right to the review. This is on a Spyderco, the Spyderco Police G10. Now this is a Police 3, so this has been discontinued for a while now. As far as I understand, the only major difference, if not the only difference, is that this is a VG10 steeled knife in comparison to the Police 4, which has a different blade steel. So if you find these guys new in box, because they're collectible now, just like a lot of Spydercos and a lot of knives in general, as soon as they are discontinued, and if you find them new in box, they're going to be a lot more expensive. These go for, from what I've seen anyway, somewhere around $300 if they're new in box, which is very rare. It's very rare to find a new in box discontinued knife to begin with. However, if you get these used, lightly scratched, lightly used, carried, maybe some scuffs on the pocket clip or so, you're going to be paying a little over $200, maybe $220. A little over $200 is what you're going to be paying for these knives if you find them, and of course, a lot more if they're new in box. Really cool knife, very long. I'd classify this as an XL size folder, approaching the cold steel XLs, you know, with the over the 5-inch blades. Let's get the specs out of the way. Speaking of which, overall length is 9.91 inches, blade length 4.35 inches, and the handle is 5.56 inches. Weighs 4.9 ounces according to Spyderco's website. These used to retail at $249.95. And again, that's about what you're going to spend on these if you find a lightly used one. And then, of course, more if it's brand new in box. So again, any knife that has over a 4-inch blade, I classify as approaching the extra large size. 4-inch blades are large to me. Below that's what I call medium, maybe medium large, and then it goes from there. But above 4 inches is when I start to classify a knife as an extra large size folder. Definitely a tactical blade. It's the aptly named Police. Very long. It's on the slimmer side. Carries very well. Great pocket clip, just like all the Spydercos. They do a great job on their pocket clips. Tip up, tip down, left and right hand carry. It is fully ambidextrous because we have the opening hole there as well as the locking mechanism, fail deployment. There we go. Little indentation right there, I forget what that's called, but it makes it a little bit more comfortable to disengage the lock, as well as makes it more difficult to accidentally disengage while you're holding it. That's the main purpose behind that. Cool, works very well. I don't mind it. I wish every lockback, or even the cold steel triad locks, I wish they had this little indentation right here. It's just a little something, makes it a little bit more comfortable to disengage the knife, that's all. Medium traction G10 on here. It's not like super aggressive or anything, but it's not soft. We have some grip. Jimping is perfection on the spine of the blade, on the little thumb ramp right here where the jimping wraps around the thumb hole. Love the Spyderco thumb holes, love the circle holes, cut at the 90-degree angle. They're very sharp, very easy to get to. Difficult to slip, even though I did have that failed deployment earlier. They're great. Love these things. The only real disadvantage I could think of is the fact that it is a potential weak point on the blade. If you're really smacking the crap out of it or you're prying with it, this is a weak point. But even knives with thumb studs, technically they have a little drilled out section there to accommodate the thumb stud in the first place. So it's a weak point regardless, but it's a much more weak point is my point. Not that it really matters. Again, if you're not prying with your knife, it shouldn't be an issue. So I don't see the reason to complain about that. Extra choil right here for your finger where it is also jimped. Very good, very sharp. So you can grip it all the way up here if you're choking up, you're doing some precision work. Down here is going to be your standard grip where you have your biggest choil. And then we have sort of a mid-tier half moon choil, I want to call that, with your two middle fingers here. Then your pinky rests there. You can scooch down here if you'd like. Plenty to grip onto. There's a lot of room. I wouldn't go any lower than down here with your pinky kind of being free. No lanyard hole, which is kind of weird, because almost every single Spyderco has a lanyard hole, but I guess the way it's designed, it's almost a 1-to-1 blade-to-handle ratio. Yeah, there's a little bit poking out there, but if they put a hole right there, the blade would just slice off whatever lanyard you wrapped around there. So it is kind of weird, though. Pocket clip has the cutout right there to accommodate the pivot screw or pin if you were to orient this in tip-down fashion. This kind of looks kind of lame to me, though. I wish there was a lanyard holder here like they do on the Endura and a lot of their other knives. Same exact style pocket clip, although that hole accommodates the lanyard hole. This one does not. Whatever, though. Who cares? Functionally, it's a great knife. You know, the lockup's good. A little bit of side to side, but I can adjust that out. Maybe there's some up and down there, but whatever. It's a lockback. Lockbacks tend to have a little bit of play in them. Even the cold steel triad lock, sometimes you'll feel just a little bit of something moving in there. They have to have a little bit of room in order for the lock to accommodate the blade. It's just how it is. But they are stronger than liner locks. Even these regular lockbacks, stronger than liner locks. So it's a relatively strong knife. G10 handle scales accompanied by some skeletonized, as you can see, stainless steel liners. They are not flush mounted, so it does add some weight. Just a sub 5 ounce knife. It feels very balanced. Very long knife, very solid, very great fit and finish, very comfortable overall. I love how slim and elongated the knife is. It's a lot like the Endura, only a little bit longer. Pretty much a very, very similar knife. Of course, this Endura is FRN with flush-mounted liners instead of being G10 with these parallel mounted liners, whatever you want to call that. But same locking mechanism, same blade still. They're both VG10. Pretty much the same grind on there. It's a little different overall, as you can see, but very, very similar knife. This one, you have the extra choil to choke up on. The Endura, you do not. They're both going to carry pretty much exactly the same. These are a little bit heavier, mainly because it's G10. These days, as I'm filming this in super late 2022, it's December, you can get the lightweight variant of this knife. They are currently still selling. Pretty much the exact same knife. Everything you're seeing here is the exact same thing, except you have this style handle. May not be orange, but FRN with the Volcano grip and the flush-mounted stainless steel liners. So if you like your Enduras, but you just want something a little bit longer, you want this, but you want it to be at this length and have that extra choil right there, same shape, go get the Police Lightweight, which will run you about maybe 130 bucks, maybe more. But these G10 Polices are sweet, really, really cool knives, beautiful, great tactical blades. You have a lot of reach, a lot of edge to work with. Very good for piercing because it is relatively acute right there. It's kind of a slimmer blade. It's not really a hard use. I would say medium duty, maybe medium hard use, but certainly not a super hard use knife because the blade's on the thinner side. It's a tactical blade, meaning something to defend your life with. Again, going with the whole police theme here, you have a lot of reach. It's not super heavy. It's not going to bog you down too much. It's pretty slim. Flicks out every single time. It's fast. You don't really need too much wrist movement. You need a little bit, but it is a lockback, and it's such a long blade. Lockbacks in general are already pretty slow. They already have a decent amount of resistance on the blade because of the torsion bar and the way they're designed. They're a little bit slower than liner locks, but a little bit stronger than liner locks. That's kind of the trade-off there. And they're ambidextrous, just FYI. For tactical blades, I would go for something a little bit stronger. You know, I'm kind of spoiled by those cold steel triad locks, and I would want maybe a little bit more to grip onto, maybe a little bit of a thicker blade. But for what it is, just trying to cut stuff and having a lot of cutting edge, it's a great knife. It's, there's a lot to hold on to as far as its length is concerned. You have a lot of reach here, and it's not super heavy, not super chunky. It'll actually carry very well while also being a pretty good tactical blade. It's not the best tactical blade. Again, I would like something a little bit stronger for this length. As you start lengthening knives more and more and more, you kind of want, I say anyways, it to be stronger so it can support itself. So for hard use, it's maybe prone to snapping or having other issues like that because it's just a standard lockback with such a long, slim blade. VG10 is a very good steel. Again, they're still using it on their Enduras. So as far as like the lightweight police goes, those are pretty good knives, for 130 bucks or so. And it's kind of a weird review because they no longer make these, so it's difficult for me to justify its price. 250 bucks or so is the average of what you're probably going to spend. Again, not for a new in box, you're going to spend a little more, but if you get it used, yeah, $250 maybe on the higher end. Very versatile, completely 110% ambidextrous. Very good blade. They're razor sharp out of the box, great heat treatment, good fit and finish. All the bases are covered. If you never got your hand on one of these things, they feel pretty much exactly the same as the Bird Caracara G10. The way the handle construction feels and the way it's set up, it feels and looks almost exactly the same. The G10 pattern, the steel liners, the lockback, the indentation here, the way it looks even. It's actually almost exactly the same as a Bird Caracara G10, only they elongated it here. So if you want to try out a cheaper knife first before you jump the gun on a much, 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 much more expensive knife, try that one out. It feels pretty similar, although the Caracara is shorter than this one. So good blade steel, okay lockup. Carries very well. It's not super heavy. It's not super chunky. It's slim, relatively lightweight for what it is, but also being a pretty good tactical blade. And then if you don't want to use too much of that edge, you can choke up if you want to just open a package or do your dinky little EDC tasks, as most of us do with our knives. So it's a great knife. If you're looking for something just for defense, it's not my first choice. Even if you're talking about the newer model police or even the lightweight police, they're good. They're expensive. That's the biggest problem I have with the Spyderco is that they're very, very, very expensive. They've always been on the pricier side, but ever since the last couple of years when they upped their retail prices across the board, they've gotten really, really, really expensive now. So even if this knife was new in box, let's say 2022, and they were selling this thing, and you can get these for like $160, I still think that's kind of a lot of money, dude. Like, if it was like 120 for this, yeah, pretty good. It's still not cheap, but it's fair. Anything above that, to me, it just starts getting a little bit too expensive. There's so many other knives you can get. Look at the Cold Steels. Cold Steel Recon 1, you can get with an S35 VN blade steel and a triad lock. A little bit shorter, sure, but it's a little bit more stout as far as the blade is concerned. It's going to be a hell of a lot stronger. Those go for maybe like $90 right now. So, I mean, the Spydercos, they're just expensive. They're cool, but if you really like the way they look and you like the Spyderco thumb hole right there in the thumb ramp, that signature pattern, you trust Spyderco, you like their blades, because they do use very, very, very sharp grinds on their blades, a little bit more acute than the industry standard. Forget the number offhand, but yeah, it's a cool knife. Again, for collectability, this thing kicks ass. I love the Police 3. Get these while you can. In the G10, it's a lot more sweet than the FRN. It's a little bit more valuable. It feels more solid in the hand. Slightly stronger than the FRN variant. Again, using the Endura as a little example right there, but it's a cool knife. It's not my first choice for the price. I wish these things were cheaper back when they were available anyway, but they are what they are. If you like Spyderco, it's a great one to have. It's an excellent, I love the XL Spydercos. XL knives in general are cool. This one's especially cool though, so there you go. Spyderco Police 3 G10.